Okay, before we start the project, I just wanted to make kind of an intro to JavaScript video, just in case you know very little or even know JavaScript. Okay, so basically I'm just going to do a few things here. We have an index.html file that I just have on my desktop, so we're not using a server or anything. I just opened it up. I have it open in Chrome, and I also have it opened in my text editor, Notepad++. Okay, so we can obviously do HTML. I'm assuming that you have a little bit of knowledge in HTML, hopefully more than a little bit, but you know, we can put an H1 tag. Okay, so it shows up big text. Basic structure of an HTML document, we're going to use the HTML5 doc type, which looks like this. It should have an exclamation here. Alright, so that's the doc type. If you want to use XHTML or HTML4, the doc types are a little longer than that. So I'm going to do my HTML tags now. And then inside there we need our head area. Okay, and in the head is where we put the page title. Okay, and I'll just say learn JavaScript. Alright, and then we'll have the body section. Okay, and in here is where we can put HTML content. We'll just put welcome again. Okay, so if we reload, now you can see in the tab here it says learn JavaScript. Okay, so that's coming from the title here. Alright, now if you want to add JavaScript to a page, you have basically two options. You can create a new file called whatever .js, okay, and you can include that file. You can link to it like this. Okay, we'll do src for source, and let's just say you named it something.js. Okay, this quote needs to be right here. Okay, so this would link a file in the same directory as your HTML file called something.js, or you can do it right in this file with no source attribute. Just go in between the script tags. Okay, and that's what I'm going to do in this video. During the projects we'll be using an external JavaScript, but just for the purpose of simplicity I'm just going to use this. Okay, so what do we want to do here? The first thing I guess I should do is an alert. Okay, so an alert will basically give us a little pop-up with whatever content we want. Let's just say hello world. Okay, if we save that and reload, JavaScript gives us this pop-up that says hello world. You can use JavaScript to output content in the body. Okay, so let me just give you an example of that, and this isn't something that you would usually do, but just to know that you can use the function document.write. Okay, and that should output it into the browser body. Alright, but like I said, this isn't something that you would normally do. Okay, normally you want to have your JavaScript in the head or in a different file, and then use something else to print it out. Either inner HTML, which I'll show you, or more preferably jQuery or some kind of JavaScript library. Alright, so that's an alert. Okay, now variables are basically containers of data, and variables are used in just about every programming language. Alright, so let's go ahead and create a variable called first name. Okay, so we use the var and then the name of the variable. Okay, you can have it named whatever you'd like. Alright, and we'll just say first name equals John. Okay, well now we can use this wherever we want. Okay, so for instance we'll say alert first name, if I could spell it right. Okay, so we'll reload and we get John. Okay, so if you want to add text to a variable, like let's say you want to say let's alert, hi, my name is John, my name is first name. This isn't going to work, watch. Okay, we're getting nothing because we're actually getting a JavaScript error, and if you're using Chrome you can hit F12 and click on the console, okay, you should have a console option. It's giving us unexpected identifier. So basically, we're trying to use a variable in a string. If we want to do that, we need to concatenate. All right. So if you're using a string only, you need to wrap it in quotes, like this. Okay. But if we do this, it's going to give us, "Hi, my name is first name." Okay. To let JavaScript know that this is a variable, you can't have it in these quotes. So we need to end the quote where we want to end the string, which is right here. Okay, this isn't going to work either. We need a symbol, a character to concatenate the variable onto the string, and in JavaScript that's a plus sign. Okay, if you've used languages like PHP, it's a dot. JavaScript, it's a plus sign. All right, so if we try to do this, we get, "Hi, my name is John," and you can see that the "is" and John is stuck together. Okay, you want to make sure you have a space in your string. All right, so that's how you can insert strings into, variables into a string. All right, so let's say you want to use two variables together. All right, if you want to do that, and by the way, a double / is a comment. So whatever has that isn't going to actually run. It's just a comment. So that's why I did that. So if you want to say, let's put, how about we give them a last name. Okay, so give them the last name Doe. All right, and we can say alert first name, and then we're going to concatenate a space. Okay, so plus sign quotes brings you into a string. All we want here is a space, and then we want the next variable, last name. Okay, so that'll alert. We need the uppercase N here. This is actually called Camelcase. All right, so you start with a lowercase, and then each consecutive word will have an uppercase for the first letter of the word. Common JavaScript syntax. All right, so now this gives us John Doe. All right, so let's take a look at if statements. Okay, so if you have any other programming knowledge, then you know what an if statement is. We're just saying if a certain condition is true, then do this, and then we can say else, which means if it's not true, then do this. All right, so for example, let's say if first name is equal to John, then let's go ahead and alert yes, I'm John. Okay, so we can run this and we get yes, I'm John. Let's say we change John to Jeff. If we reload, nothing's happening because we don't have the first name of John. Okay, but we can say else alert, we'll say no, I'm not John. Okay, now we're getting unexpected identifier, and the reason for that is I went to use a quote here when in fact our string needs to be surrounded in quotes, so it's thinking this is the end of my string. Okay, now we have a couple different things we can do here. One is we can actually use double quotes for the string. All right, so that's going to be just fine. Try that out. Or if you do want to keep single quotes, you can escape this character, this quote with a backslash. Okay, so if we do that and reload, you can see now we have our quote. There's no backslash showing because it's an escape character. All right, I'm actually glad, I didn't mean to do that, but I'm glad that came up. All right, and you can also say else if. All right, so let's move this down and say else. I just want to put this here. Okay, so we'll say else if first name is equal to Steve, then we can alert yes, we'll say I am Steve and I am John. Okay, and then this last one, let's just change this to I am. We'll say I am not John or Steve. Okay, and that's what we should get. Alright, so if we change first name to Steve, save it, yes, I am Steve. Okay, so that's how if statements or conditionals work. Alright, so let's take a look at arrays now. An array is basically, let me just comment these out. An array is a variable that holds multiple values. Alright, so let's create an array called cars. Okay, so you can use the variable, the var keyword, when you're creating arrays as well. So cars equals new array. This is going to create a new empty array. Okay, if we want to add something, there's a few different ways we can do it. The first way we can say cars, cars, and then a bracket, and inside there is 0 because arrays always start from 0. Okay, so I want it at the beginning of the array, and I'm going to say Toyota. Okay, if I want to add another car to this array, let's say cars 1 equals Honda. Okay, we can add another one. We'll say cars 2 is equal to Ford. Okay, so this gives us an array. Now, if we want to, let's say, alert the Honda value, we can say alert cars 1. Okay, reload, we get Honda. Now you can also add array values like this. We can say cars equals, and then some brackets, and then we can put in Toyota, Honda, Ford. Okay, this line here is doing the exact same thing as these three lines are doing. Okay, they're going to be in the same position, 0, 1, and 2. Okay, so if we get rid of this, let's just comment these out. We're still going to get Honda. Alright. Now we can also loop through arrays. So I think this is a good time to show you a for loop. Okay, which is a pretty common type in JavaScript. Okay, so what we want to do is say for and set it up kind of like an if statement. Okay, you have some parentheses, you have the curly braces, and you have 3 parameters to put in here. One is you need to create a variable to use in the loop. So we're going to say variable I, and we're going to set it to 0, and then a semicolon is going to separate the next parameter, which is the condition. Okay, so we can say if I is, let's say if I is less than 5, okay, that'll be the condition. Then the third parameter is we're going to increment I by 1. Okay, so the first time around it's going to be 1, then it will be 2, 3, 4, and when it gets to 5 it should stop because that's the condition, as long as it's less than 5. Alright, so let's just let's do that. Alright, so we can actually, I don't want to use alert because I don't want to keep having these pop-ups, so I'm going to show you something called console.log. And this is just going to log the output to our console in Chrome. Okay, if you click F12, click on console, you have this little area. So let's go ahead and console log I. Okay, so if we save this and reload, you can see that it printed out 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 because we're saying to log I as long as it's less than 5. Now if you want to include 5 in that, you can say less than or equal to 5. Okay, and we save that and reload, and now we have 1 through 5. Alright, so let's say we want to scroll through this loop here and output these cars. Okay, so instead of saying less than 5, we want to say as long as it's less than cars.length. Okay, length is a property that's going to count the amount of values in an array. In this case, it's 3. All right, then down here we can console log cars I, which is just the variable that's going to replace the number for this iteration. Okay, so if we reload, you can see here we have Toyota, Honda, Ford. All right, so that's how a for loop works. And I think that's pretty much the gist of it, of basic JavaScript. Variables, arrays, conditionals, loops, and actually we should do functions too. And there's a really good chance that you already know all of this. I'm sure a lot of you do. So a function basically is just a pre-made block of code that you can call. Okay, so we have a function. Let's give it a name. Let's call it say hi. Okay, so what we want this function to do, we just want it to alert the word hi. Okay, now if I save this and run it, nothing happens. That's because we haven't called it. We just declared the function. To call it, we need to say the name of the function, which is say hi. Okay, so that should actually run it. All right. Now your functions can also take parameters. All right, so let's change the name of this to just say it. And then for a parameter, let's put in word. And then down here, we're just going to alert word. Okay. To run this, we'll say it and pass in a string which needs to be in quotes, and we'll say hello. Okay, so if we run this, we get hello. Whatever you put in here is going to display in the alert. And let's see, you can also do things like basic math. Let's do that. Okay, so let's say we have a function. Let's call add it. Okay, and we want to put in 2 parameters here. Okay, we want num1 and num2, and we want to alert num1 plus num2. Okay, now to actually run this, we'll say add it, and we'll put in 3 and 5. Okay, now these are integers, so we don't want quotes because they're not strings, they're numbers. Okay, so save it, reload, and we get 8. Okay, so that's how you can declare a function and run a function. And functions are also sometimes called methods, usually when they're inside of an object. And object-oriented stuff is a little beyond this course. But those are the very basics. If you didn't understand anything, don't worry about it. I'll explain it as we go along, and you should be all right. So let's start the first project.